Welcome to Fiction Audiobooks. If you enjoy the content, like and subscribing would be greatly appreciated. If you have any recommendations for novels, comment below.
Please join my Patreon at https://www.patreon.com/fictionaudiobook.
Chapter 163, Enemies from the Sky. Didn't expect him to reincarnate into the Uchiha clan. Orisa gently rubbed the space between his brows with his fingertips. Forget it, that's normal. After all, Naruto, the reincarnation of Azura, was from the Uzumaki clan. Then, with a thought from Arisu, the clone chakra surrounding him suddenly dispersed. The clone before him instantly turned into tiny specks of white light and vanished into the air without leaving the slightest trace. Just as everything fell into silence, high in the sky, space rippled with a faint distortion. Yamatsu Hirasaka. A pure white figure slowly broke through the void and stood quietly in the vast outer space beyond Earth. That white figure looked down from above at the planet below, glowing with a faint blue light. Isshiki, I want to see what you've been doing here after cutting off contact with the clan for so many years. Otsutsuki Urashiki slowly opened his narrow eyes. His gaze was indifferent with a hint of amusement, locking firmly onto the earth beneath him as he spoke in a casual, low voice. Urashiki wore a playful, carefree expression. In his view, coming to Earth this time was nothing more than a casual investigation. He didn't take this remote planet seriously at all. If Isshiki and Kaguya hadn't gone so long without contacting them, he wouldn't even bother coming to this backwater place. At that moment, Urashiki's originally relaxed perception suddenly halted, and the aura around him paused slightly. That's not right, someone's there. Urashiki abruptly turned his head. His sharp gaze pierced through the vast space and shot straight toward the moon, a trace of barely noticeable surprise flashing in his eyes. On that seemingly barren and lifeless moon, there was actually a presence of life. This discovery completely exceeded his expectations and made him feel a hint of astonishment. After a brief moment of surprise, a strange, playful smile curled at the corner of Urashiki's mouth. He lightly rubbed his chin with his fingertips and thought to himself, hey, interesting. Could it be someone Isshiki placed on the moon in advance? Could it be that Isshiki really went independent? Thinking of this, Urashiki had no intention of hiding his presence at all. He had come first to investigate Isshiki's situation. There was no need to sneak around. Moreover, he had absolute confidence in his own strength. With Yamatsu Hirasaka in his grasp, controlling spacetime itself, among the Otsutsuki, as long as he wanted to escape, almost no one could truly do anything to him. Even if Isshiki was powerful, he couldn't match the speed of his spacetime reversal. There was no need for caution. Without paying further attention to the disturbance on the moon, Urashiki carried his red light fishing rod on his back. Space around him instantly tore apart, and a dark, deep spacetime passage opened. It was his exclusive spacetime ninjutsu, Yamatsu Hirasaka. He lifted his foot and casually stepped into the passage. In the blink of an eye, he arrived directly on Earth. The moment his feet touched the ground, Urashiki immediately pushed his chakra sensory ability to the limit. His vast perception spread like an invisible net, instantly covering the entire land as he frantically searched for the god tree, 10 Tails. Nothing. After a complete, all-encompassing search, his previously casual expression instantly darkened. Urashiki did not sense even the slightest fluctuation of the god tree's chakra. The god tree that should have been rooted here, the core of the Otsutsuki clan's mission, had completely disappeared. Isshiki isn't very reliable either. I've never liked that expressionless guy anyway, always wearing that cold face. Not as likable as Momoshiki at all. Urashiki quickly concealed the coldness in his eyes and returned to his usual carefree attitude, shrugging indifferently. There was even a hint of teasing amusement on his face, as if watching a show. Once Momoshiki and Kinshiki arrived, Isshiki would have a hard time. At this moment, he had no idea that Isshiki had already met with misfortune. He still firmly believed Isshiki was alive on this planet. In his understanding, Kaguya should have been successfully sacrificed. Isshiki had merely cut off contact with the Otsutsuki clan out of greed for Earth's chakra resources, intending to monopolize everything here. With that thought, Urashiki no longer hesitated and immediately adjusted the direction of his perception, beginning to search across Earth for Ishiki's whereabouts. Night had deepened, moonlight shining over the Uchiha clan. Orisa sat cross-legged on the tatami, his posture upright as he quietly read a scroll in his hands. Beside him, Uchiha Taijima was fast asleep, breathing steadily, already in deep slumber. Suddenly, the ground beneath them showed a faint, almost imperceptible ripple. A completely white Zetsu silently emerged from beneath the floor, its figure hidden in the shadows. Ma. Just as White Zetsu was about to speak and report, Arisu raised his hand and immediately stopped him. Without lifting his head, Arisu simply raised one hand slightly, his fingers pressing downward in a gesture for silence, signaling White Zetsu not to disturb the sleeping Taijima beside him. White Zetsu instantly understood. He opened his mouth, then slowly closed it again, glancing at the sleeping Uchiha Taijima and quickly nodding carefully. Only then did Arisu lower his hand. His brows lifted slightly as he spoke in a low voice, "What is it?" White Zetsu bent slightly, his tone full of respect as he replied in an equally quiet voice, "The observatory on the moon detected an abnormal situation. A man in white clothing appeared in outer space. This is a photo taken immediately by the lunar observation station." As he finished speaking, White Zetsu slowly raised his hand and handed a clear photograph to Arisu. Arisu reached out and took the photo. The moment his gaze fell on it, his previously calm brows suddenly furrowed. The figure in the photo was unmistakably Otsutsuki Urashiki. That signature white robe and the cold, detached aura unique to the Otsutsuki clan could not be mistaken. A glint flashed in Arisu's eyes as he sighed inwardly. What was bound to come had finally come. He hadn't expected Urashiki to arrive on Earth this early. Could it be that outside the original storyline, Urashiki had actually come to Earth earlier, and it just wasn't mentioned? After a brief moment of thought, Arisu nodded slowly and said calmly, "Understood. You may go. Also, pass a message to Gamamaru. Have Mount Mayaboku immediately strengthen its barrier defenses and temporarily enforce a lockdown. No one is to enter or leave at will. If any abnormal movement is detected, report to me immediately." "Yes." White Zetsu bowed respectfully to accept the order. As his voice fell, he slowly sank back into the ground, disappearing silently without causing the slightest disturbance. After White Zetsu completely left, Arisu slowly closed the scroll in his hand. Chakra surged around him again as he formed hand seals, instantly creating a condensed, powerful clone. To deal with Urashiki, this single clone was already enough. Chapter 164, Chapter 164, You're the one who came. Hovering above the clouds, Urashiki looked at the unfamiliar planet beneath his feet, his face full of confusion, and couldn't help muttering to himself, "What? Did I come to the wrong planet?" As soon as he finished speaking, Urashiki clearly sensed the dense chakra within humans appearing all over the planet. His brows furrowed even tighter as he continued to mumble in confusion, "That's right, this planet really does have chakra." Urashiki just stood there in midair, looking around with a puzzled expression, completely unaware that a figure had already arrived silently behind him. At that moment, a voice sounded. "Outsider, are you looking for Isshiki and Kaguya?" The instant he heard this voice, the usual carefree and casual expression on Urashiki's face suddenly froze. Don't be fooled by his usual laid-back demeanor. In reality, he was extremely cautious, always wary of dying. He had roamed the world for years and was always vigilant, yet never had anyone approached him so silently from behind without him sensing anything. A strong sense of danger instantly swept through his entire body. In the next second, chakra around Urashiki trembled slightly as he suddenly turned around. His gaze was sharp as a blade, locking onto the direction the voice came from. In midair, an old man with white hair and beard floated quietly. He wore a plain white robe that fluttered in the wind, and in his hand he held a completely black staff. "You. Who are you?" Urashiki immediately demanded coldly. At this moment, alarm bells were already ringing wildly in Urashiki's mind. Just the fact that the other party could appear behind him without making a sound was enough to judge that the seemingly ordinary old man in white had unfathomable strength. Urashiki steadied himself, facing the old man Orisa directly. His eyes locked onto him as he regained his composure and asked in a deep voice, "Where are Isshiki and Kaguya?" Orisa looked at Urashiki calmly, shook his head lightly, and spoke in an indifferent tone, "Those two, their life and death are unknown." "Life and death unknown, oh. What happened? You seem to know quite a lot. Mind telling me?" Urashiki raised his brow, a trace of suspicion flashing in his eyes as a fake smile quickly spread across his face. Seeing Urashiki's smile that hid a blade, Orisa's lips slowly curved into a strange smile. He stepped forward unhurriedly and said word by word, "Of course they were both killed by me. Those two were really weak. I hope you can give this old man a bit of surprise." As soon as these words came out, the fake smile on Urashiki's face froze completely. The previous playfulness and friendliness vanished without a trace. "You lowly creature of this planet, are you prepared to welcome the arrival and punishment of my noble Otsutsuki clan?" Otsutsuki Urashiki shouted sharply, his voice full of fury. Hearing this, Orisa not only didn't get angry, he instead laughed. His tone carried a condescending mockery as he slowly said, "Then you, lowly two-dimensional creature, are you ready to face the attack of a noble three-dimensional being? You're the native of this world." As his words fell, Orisa's gaze landed on Urashiki's eyes. His expression sharpened, his tone turning cold, "I'll be taking those eyes of yours." Before his words even finished, Arisu had already appeared in front of Urashiki. Damn it. Time reversal. Caught off guard, Otsutsuki Urashiki immediately activated time reversal, trying to return to the moment he had just seen Arisu's move clearly. However, at the very instant it activated, time reversal seemed to get stuck, completely unable to rewind. Why isn't it working? Otsutsuki Urashiki was shocked and hurriedly retreated. But Arisu had already reached him. Several truth-seeking balls instantly sealed off Urashiki's position. Arisu suddenly reached out his hand. Pook. Ah. Otsutsuki Urashiki covered his now empty left eye and staggered backward, falling from the air to the ground. Choosing the Monkey King Sage Art clone was the right decision. If I had chosen another Sage clone, I'd probably have to drag things out with this guy for a while. Arisa tucked Urashiki's eye into his sleeve. A portal appeared behind him, and Arisa stepped into it. Bang. Urashiki slammed heavily onto the ground covered with broken stones, landing on his left shoulder first. The pain from his left eye surged through his entire body. Damn it. Damn that old bastard. Why is time reversal completely useless? Urashiki gritted his teeth hard and punched the ground. Broken stones scattered and splashed onto his blood-covered face. His eyes were filled with unwillingness and hatred. Why haven't Momoshiki and Kinshiki arrived yet? Once they get here, I'll tear you into pieces. Recalling the moment his left eye was forcibly gouged out, Urashiki's heart clenched with pain. Almost instinctively, Urashiki activated his chakra and forcefully opened a spatial rift with Yamatsu Hirasaka, trying with all his strength to escape into another dimension. He had been instantly defeated in his normal state. If he rashly entered his crane form, it would only end even worse. The only option was to hide in another dimension to temporarily avoid danger. I was still too late, otherwise my left eye wouldn't have fallen into that bastard's hands. Urashiki covered his empty eye socket, his fingers touching the warm blood, his hatred intensifying. But just as Urashiki regained a bit of composure and tried to sense spatial fluctuations to confirm whether he was safe, the scene before him made him freeze instantly, his face full of confusion. Wait. Why am I still on this planet? I clearly used Yamatsu Hirasaka to move to another dimension. Urashiki struggled to get up from the ground, staggering as he stood. He looked around at the familiar terrain of Earth, repeatedly sensing his surroundings, confirming that he had not left this planet at all. No need to think about it. I used my power to distort your spatial destination. From beginning to end, you never left Earth. A cold and familiar voice suddenly sounded behind him without warning. Ah. Urashiki suddenly turned his head. Arisu's figure floated in midair like a ghost, only a few meters away, looking at his miserable state with an indifferent gaze, as if looking at a dying insect. Damn it. You actually chased me here too. You persistent old bastard. Urashiki was completely enraged. His face twisted, his remaining right eye wide open. The intense pain from his left eye nearly drove him insane. Arisu wasn't surprised at all. In the original story, the more desperate this guy became, the more he liked to bark. When dealing with Boruto, he also kept spouting trash. Urashiki suddenly swung out his red light fishing hook, aiming straight for Arisu's vital points. Facing the incoming red light hook, Arisu didn't even bother to look. The several black truth-seeking balls floating beside him instantly blocked in front like an impenetrable wall. The red light hook struck the truth-seeking balls, and the attack was easily neutralized. With his attack failing, the panic in Urashiki's heart grew even stronger. He knew Arisu's speed and strength far surpassed his own and didn't dare hesitate for even a moment. He hurriedly took out a black square box from his robe and roared, "Time freeze." The box instantly released dense white smoke, spreading rapidly in all directions. In the blink of an eye, it completely enveloped Arisu's figure. The surrounding space also formed faint icy patterns, as if time itself had been forcibly frozen. Cough, cough, old bastard, once you're caught in my time freeze, just sleep in this dragon palace for 10,000 years. Chapter 165, The Fisherman. Cough, cough, old bastard, once you're hit by my time freeze, just sleep in the dragon palace for 10,000 years. Urashiki covered his bleeding left eye and let out a shrill, crazed laugh. This move, time freeze, even Otsutsuki Isshiki would find hard to break free from. He was certain the old men in front of him had no way to counter it. However, in the next second, a calm voice came from within the white smoke. Arisu slowly walked out of the white mist, and a dazzling golden light suddenly burst from his body. That golden glow was as blazing as the sun. Wherever it passed, the white smoke melted instantly like snow under sunlight. Seeing this scene, the crazed smile on Urashiki's face froze instantly. His expression changed drastically, his eyes filled with disbelief and shock as he shouted, "Time freeze didn't work. How is that possible?" This was his ultimate trump card. It could even affect Otsutsuki Isshiki, yet in front of this old man, it was completely useless. How could he accept that? Heh. Arisu chuckled softly. A faint phantom of a turtle slowly emerged from his chest. That's the Otsutsuki clan's supreme treasure, the spacetime artifact Karasuki. Urashiki's remaining right eye widened, his pupils shrinking sharply, his face filled with extreme shock. He never imagined that this old man in front of him actually possessed Karasuki, the spacetime treasure of the Otsutsuki clan. Only now did he finally understand why his time reversal couldn't activate, and why time freeze had no effect at all. Cough, cough, Isshiki and Kaguya really are beasts, delivering a treasure right to you. Otsutsuki Urashiki cursed. Arisu smiled. You're the same. I'll be taking your eyes as well. Otsutsuki Urashiki's face twisted with shock and fury. It had always been the Otsutsuki taking from others, never had anyone taken from the Otsutsuki. Once my clansmen arrive, you'll definitely die a horrible death. As he spoke, Otsutsuki Urashiki moved to dig out his own eye and destroy it. But Arisu reacted faster. The truth-seeking balls instantly transformed into the aim no Naboko, cutting Otsutsuki Urashiki in half at the waist. That's all. Arisu slowly drew in Urashiki's eye and stored it in his sleeve. Urashiki was a valuable prize. From head to toe, everything about him was treasure. Just the red light fishing rod alone could hook anything. Even Mitsuki's sage techniques could be taken at will. Then there was the Rinnegan, time reversal, and the golden Rinnegan that awakened after activation. With such a high-level set of abilities, yet such poor performance in the original story, what a waste. And this body too. Although the horns aren't particularly large, a bit like a wild Otsutsuki, it's still rare. Arisu slowly stored Urashiki's corpse as well. As for why Arisu judged Urashiki to be not pure, it was based on the horns on Urashiki's head. Those like Isshiki and Momoshiki, pure Otsutsuki, had relatively large horns. As for the impure ones, like Hagoromo, Amura, and Tonari, some of them didn't even have horns. The next day, Taijima slowly woke from his sleep. As soon as he looked up, he saw Arisu still sitting by the table. Grandpa, didn't you sleep? Uchiha Taijima rubbed his eyes and asked. Arisu smiled faintly. This old man wakes up early. Dealing with Otsutsuki Urashiki before and after had only taken one night. After Uchiha Taijima went to the clan academy. Arisu smiled as he took out the red light fishing hook. From now on, this old man can happily be a fisherman too. Pure land. Otsutsuki Urashiki groggily opened his eyes. Then he shakily got up from the ground. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw the pale surroundings and the endless white sky. Strange, didn't I die? And my eyes have recovered. Otsutsuki Urashiki rubbed his eyes, a look of joy appearing on his face. He tried to activate the Byakugan or Rinnegan but found that he couldn't use any abilities. It was as if his eyes had recovered, but had no power at all. Right after that, Otsutsuki Urashiki realized his chakra was gone too. Where is this place? Otsutsuki Urashiki looked around, confused. At that moment, a middle-aged man in fitted clothing walked over quickly. Yo, newcomer. Looks like you also offended the Sage of Six Paths and got sent here to develop the Pure Land. The Shimura clan head crossed his arms and looked at Urashiki indifferently. Lowly creature, what are you saying? Otsutsuki Urashiki shouted coldly. Hearing this, the Shimura clan head froze for a moment, not understanding what this Hyuga clan member was yelling about. Looks like the Sage of Six Paths was right to demote you here. The Shimura clan head sneered. He didn't know the person in front of him was an Otsutsuki. Seeing the Byakugan, he assumed it was someone from the Hyuga clan. Baka. Get to work. If you don't open up a few hundred meters today, don't even think about resting. The Shimura clan head directly threw a pickaxe to Urashiki and ordered him. Otsutsuki Urashiki was completely stunned by this situation. He didn't even know where he was, and the Sage of Six Paths. Was it that old man from before? You bastard. How dare you treat me like this? Do you even know that you're nothing but insects, a bunch of frogs at the bottom of a well? Do you know how many years I've lived? Otsutsuki Urashiki shouted angrily. The Shimura clan head was briefly startled, but quickly regained his composure. He had worked in the Pure Land for many years and was among the earliest group there. Why would he be afraid of a newcomer? You bastard. You've only been in the Pure Land for a few years and you dare act so arrogant. The Shimura clan head was furious. He strode forward, and before Urashiki could react, raised his right hand and slapped him hard across the left side of his face. Smack. A crisp slap echoed sharply across the empty Pure Land. After all, the Shimura clan head was someone who had lived through chaotic times. He naturally preferred to act first without wasting words. Urashiki had never expected this mere mortal to dare lay hands on him. Caught completely off guard, his head was knocked to the side. A clear handprint instantly appeared on his left cheek, and a burning pain spread across it. Pain. It actually hurts, Otsutsuki Urashiki muttered. Before he could react, the Shimura clan head's left hand came down again, another loud slap striking his right cheek. A slap from both sides. The piercing pain from both cheeks made Urashiki freeze completely. The anger in his eyes instantly solidified, replaced by extreme shock and disbelief. That was roughly the situation. Otsutsuki Urashiki instantly came to his senses and realized all his power was gone. He was like an ordinary person, even his physical abilities were weakened. Since you're a criminal, this old man has no need to show you respect or courtesy. Hurry up and work, or the consequences, humph, the Shimura clan head snorted coldly. Otsutsuki Urashiki gritted his teeth, and in the end picked up the tool used to develop the Pure Land. Sigh. Forget it, only those who can bend and stretch are true Otsutsuki. Endure for a moment and the wind will calm, take a step back and the sea will be wide. He would wait until he figured out what was going on here before making plans. p@trian.com/xenosx. Partying face. Joining p@trian keeps me motivated and eager to work diligently, so please consider joining. Smiling face with hearts. Chapter 166, Chapter 166, when one finishes, another takes the stage. Another 15 years passed. Time flowed on, and in the blink of an eye 15 years slipped by, quietly bringing the timeline to the year 816 of the ninja calendar. Over the past 10 years, the Senju clan suffered a sudden heavy blow. With their clan head killed, the entire clan instantly fell into leaderless chaos. They had no choice but to urgently send a request for reinforcements to their ally, the Uzumaki clan. The Uzumaki clan had long been bound to the Senju through generations of intermarriage. The marriage alliances established years ago had already tightly tied the fate of the two clans together. In addition, many daughters of the Uzumaki elders had married into the Senju clan, becoming bonds that linked their bloodlines. From both the situation and their interests, the Uzumaki clan had no other choice. They immediately mobilized their forces and set out to support the Senju. For a time, the Uchiha clan alone faced the combined army of Senju and Uzumaki. The three sides engaged in fierce, chaotic battles across the battlefield. That same year, Uchiha Taijima completed his marriage and officially stepped into a new stage of life as an adult. Late at night, heavy rain poured down. The torrential rain slammed down wildly, washing over the rooftops and tiles of the Uchiha clan grounds. The world was shrouded in a dense curtain of rain. From the delivery room came the painful groans of Taijima's wife, Miko. Ah. Uchiha Taijima paced anxiously back and forth under the corridor. The rain soaked the hem of his clothes, yet he didn't notice at all. The Taijima of now had long shed his youthful immaturity, fully grown into a tall and handsome adult ninja. His brows and eyes carried both the sharpness that Madara would later have and the gentleness of Izuna. He was widely recognized within the clan as a strikingly handsome man. He looked a bit like an older Uchiha Itachi with Sasuke's hairstyle, especially with those faint lines at the corners of his mouth. Grandpa, what should I do? Miko has been in difficult labor for so long. If it ends with both mother and child lost, what am I supposed to do? Uchiha Taijima hurried over to Arisu, his voice trembling as he spoke. Arisu, on the other hand, remained completely calm, his expression steady and unmoved. Calm down, Taijima. Don't say such unlucky things. I've already performed a divination for the people in the delivery room. This birth may have some danger, but it will pass safely. There will be no harm, Orisa said slowly. Grandpa, how can you be so certain? I really can't stop worrying. Taijima still couldn't hide his anxiety. Naturally, I am completely certain. Orisa nodded slightly. Orisa sighed inwardly. If something truly went wrong with his abilities, he could easily resolve it. This level of trouble was nothing to worry about. Hearing his grandfather's words, the weight on Taijima's heart finally eased a little. Although he didn't understand what this divination was, he knew it was something used to predict fortune and misfortune. Grandpa had always been accurate without a single mistake. Since he said it so firmly, then Miko and the child in her womb would surely pass through this safely. Thinking of this, Uchiha Taijima felt slightly better. Orisa slowly raised his gaze, his deep eyes piercing through the layers of rain toward the eastern sky. So it's finally coming. Uchiha Madara is about to be born, which means Uchiha Yudo has reached the end of his fate, Orisa thought silently. In every generation, the reincarnation of Indra could never exist in the world at the same time. Only when the previous reincarnation completely fell would the power of Indra belonging to the next generation find a new vessel and complete the transition of fate. Now that the next reincarnation of Indra, Uchiha Madara, was about to be born, it meant that Uchiha Yudo, as the current reincarnation of Indra, was destined to reach the end of his life. At the same time, on a battlefield thousands of miles away, the rain poured down just as heavily. The dense curtain of rain blurred all vision. Sho. Two figures stood facing each other from a distance. Uchiha Yudo and the Uzumaki clan head, Uzumaki Itsuki, had already fought hundreds of rounds. Their strength was evenly matched, their chakra heavily depleted. For a time, neither could gain the upper hand. Uchiha Yudo, withdraw your troops immediately. My Uzumaki clan has no intention of advancing deep into Uchiha territory. As long as your Uchiha stops attacking the Senju clan, our forces will withdraw at once and will not continue fighting. Standing in the rain, Uzumaki Itsuki shouted coldly toward Uchiha Yudo. But the response he received was Uchiha Yudo's immediate and fierce counterattack. Amaterasu. Along with Uchiha Yudo's low shout, pitch black, inextinguishable flames suddenly appeared out of nowhere, carrying a terrifying heat that seemed capable of burning everything as they shot straight toward Uzumaki Itsuki. The rain fell onto the Amaterasu flames and instantly evaporated into white mist. Damn it, that inextinguishable flame again. Sealing technique, adamantine sealing chains. Uzumaki Itsuki's expression changed drastically. He immediately activated the power of the Uzumaki bloodline, and countless golden chakra chains emerged from his body. Layer upon layer, they blocked in front of him, forcefully resisting the burning of Amaterasu. The crackling sounds of chains clashing with black flames rang out continuously. On the other side, Uchiha Yudo tightly covered his eyes. His body trembled slightly in the cold rain as he struggled with all his strength to sustain the ocular power of Amaterasu. He knew better than anyone the condition of his eyes. Years of overusing the Sharingan's power had already pushed them to their limits. If he chose to retreat this time, and his eyes went completely blind in the future, he would never again have the chance to contend against the allied forces, and the Uchiha would fall entirely into a disadvantage. Damn it, you're forcing my hand. Looks like I can only use that. Uzumaki Itsuki let out a deep sigh. Seeing that Uchiha Yudo had already made up his mind and showed no intention of backing down no matter what, the last trace of negotiation in Uzumaki Itsuki's heart completely vanished. As the Uzumaki clan head, from the moment he took the position, he had been prepared to sacrifice everything for the safety of the clan. And every generation of Uzumaki clan heads inherited the forbidden technique, Reaper Death Seal. This was the final trump card of the Uzumaki clan head, a power to overturn the entire situation when the clan faced destruction and could not match the enemy, a final move that would lead to mutual destruction. Sealing technique, Reaper Death Seal. Uzumaki Itsuki roared as he exhausted all his chakra, using his own soul as the catalyst to forcibly summon the legendary Death God. A sinister, terrifying phantom of the Death God, holding a long blade, slowly took shape within the rain. It emitted a chilling aura of death, its cold gaze locking firmly onto Uchiha Yudo. The temperature across the battlefield seemed to drop instantly. Hearing Reaper Death Seal, Uchiha Yudo did not panic. Instead, he slowly curled his lips into a relieved smile. This was exactly the ending he wanted. If things continued like this, dragged out in a battle of attrition, with his worsening eye condition, he would most likely die from exhaustion. Meanwhile, Uzumaki Itsuki might only be severely injured. But now that Uzumaki Itsuki had activated the Reaper Death Seal, it was clear he intended to die together with him. To trade his own life for the life of the Uzumaki clan head, securing the greatest possible advantage for the Uchiha, this sacrifice was worth it. Reaper Death Seal. As the Death God's blade swung down, both figures froze in place, and the chakra around them completely dissipated. Uchiha Yudo and Uzumaki Itsuki both fell in this cold, pouring rain. After their deaths, from within their bodies, a strand of pure energy rose from each. The power of Indra and Azura. One shot toward the west, heading for the Uchiha clan territory, while the other drifted away toward the east. Within the Uchiha clan grounds, Arisu suddenly looked up toward the sky. He clearly felt that vast power belonging to Indra rushing rapidly toward the clan. So it's finally over. Arisu gazed into the rain-covered distance and let out a soft sigh. Good work, Yuto. See you in the Pure Land. Chapter 167, Chapter 167, Reunion in the Pure Land. A clear baby's cry cut through the sound of the rain. Born. The lady has given birth. The midwife's excited shout came from inside the room. What? Born. Uchiha Taijima's whole body trembled, and overwhelming joy instantly washed away all the tension he had been holding onto. He could no longer hold himself back. He pushed the door open and rushed in with long strides. Outside, Arisu quietly watched this scene. A gentle smile slowly formed on his lips, then he clasped his hands behind his back and calmly looked out at the empty, rain-soaked ground in front of him. What others could not perceive was that the phantom of the Shinigami had appeared at some point, silently kneeling before Arisu. In this world, only Arisu could see the Shinigami. The wind and rain around them, and the people inside the house, were completely unaware. Sage, the souls of Uchiha Yudo and Uzumaki Itsuki are both with me. I know the two are reincarnations of those two great beings, so I did not devour their souls. I came to await your instructions. The Shinigami lowered its head and spoke respectfully. Arisu nodded slightly, his expression calm as he said, You've done well. Leave them to me. You may go. The Shinigami did not dare delay. It immediately raised its hands and presented two pale green soul phantoms, offering them with utmost respect. After Orisa took the souls, the eerie figure slowly faded and disappeared into the rain, leaving no trace behind. Grandpa. Grandpa, come in and take a look. Taijima's ecstatic shout came from inside, filled with the excitement and joy of becoming a father for the first time. With a pleased smile, Orisa walked slowly into the warm room. He went to Taijima's side and gently patted his shoulder, his tone carrying emotion. Congratulations, Taijima. You now have a child of your own. Looking at Taijima, who was full of spirit and joy, Orisa felt many emotions in his heart. He had watched him grow up step by step. Under his guidance and correction, Taijima had not become cold and extreme like in the original story. Instead, his temperament was gentle and full of warmth, already walking a completely different path in life. Taijima was overjoyed, but he paused for a moment. A faint trace of confusion flashed in his heart. Grandpa had just stepped into the room and hadn't even come close to the swaddled baby yet, so how did he already know it was a boy? But this doubt was instantly drowned out by the overwhelming happiness brought by the baby in his arms. He was completely carried away by joy and had no time to think about it. Orisa reminded him, it's time to give the child a name. Right. Right, right. Taijima nodded repeatedly, but in the next second, a hint of embarrassment appeared on his face. He had grown up in constant warfare, his mind always focused on ninja training and the safety of the clan. When it came to literature or naming, he had no idea where to start. Even after thinking hard, he couldn't come up with anything suitable. After hesitating for a moment, Taijima scratched his head and looked at Arisu awkwardly. Grandpa, I really can't think of a good name. I'll have to trouble you to decide. Arisu shook his head. He turned to look at Arisu, who lay weak but smiling gently on the tatami, and said warmly, the child's name should first respect the mother's wishes. Right. Right, Arisu, what do you think? What name do you want to give the child? Taijima immediately turned, looking at his wife with excitement. Uchiha Arisu gently shook her head, a helpless smile appearing on her face. Our Uchiha clan is always at war. Normally, we focus on strengthening ourselves and practicing ninjutsu. Our cultural education is rather shallow, so I can't think of a good name either. Grandpa is knowledgeable and well-traveled. It's most appropriate for you to name the child. Seeing that both of them insisted, Arisu smiled helplessly. His gentle gaze fell on the baby in the swaddling cloth. In that case, this child shall be called Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara. What a great name. Taijima was instantly overjoyed. He held the baby tightly, so excited he didn't know what to do, repeating in a flustered voice, I have a son. I finally have a daughter. Arisu returned to the Pure Land. At this moment, the Pure Land had undergone a complete transformation. What was once an empty void filled with invisible barriers now had mountains and rivers, even floating islands in the sky, giving it a unique kind of beauty. Hagoromo has done well, Orisa praised softly. He closed his eyes and instantly sensed the entire Pure Land. Compared to the human world, the Pure Land was far better. The older deceased were explaining the rules of the Pure Land to the newly arrived, while the newcomers eagerly told them about what was happening in the living world. Countless newly arrived souls reunited with relatives they had lost, people they had never even met in life. There were also enemies meeting again, but since fighting was forbidden in the Pure Land, and everyone was already dead, they eventually let go. In the Hyuga clan, Hyuga Ryoichi was playing chess with his deceased father and grandfather, while the newly arrived clan head talked about the changes in the Hyuga clan. Scenes like this were happening across all the major ninja clans in the Pure Land. Hyuga, Hagoromo, Uchiha, Uzumaki, Senju. At the center of the Pure Land, Otsutsuki Hagoromo was giving a lecture, explaining his philosophy and answering questions. The audience filled the entire plaza. The Pure Land even had a network now. Hagoromo's livestream had tens of millions of viewers. Nearby, Sarutobi watched everything with a smile, as if he had returned to the days when he was studying under Hagoromo. At the edges of the Pure Land, the tens of millions of criminals Arisu had previously captured were working to expand it, making it larger and larger. At this moment, they deeply regretted their past, never expecting that the Sage of Six Paths truly existed. Now everyone else was enjoying the Pure Land, while they had to work 8 hours a day expanding it. They only got 2 days off each week, and during their free time they could only scroll through Pure Land TikTok for entertainment, watching others enjoy the scenery and travel around. Otsutsuki Urashiki had also gotten used to it. He knew he was already dead. At first, he thought about escaping and finding a way to revive. But after more than 10 years, he actually started to feel that staying here wasn't so bad. So he used the money he earned from working to buy a phone. Every day, he just played various Pure Land games, spending all his earnings on in-game purchases. The ordinary people of the Pure Land were the same. The first-generation daimyo gathered together, laughing and talking about stories from their respective nations. Common people just watched Pure Land TikTok or found small ways to entertain themselves. Here, there was no distinction of status. Everyone was equal. The only difference was reputation, which depended entirely on seniority. The older you were, the more respect you received. The Pure Land has been developed very successfully. I think it's better than the infinite Tsukuyomi. Arisu slowly opened his eyes. The development of the Pure Land was a success. In theory, as long as he did not die, the Pure Land would not collapse. And as long as it didn't collapse, these souls would continue to live here. Next are Hashirama and Madara, and Naruto, and Sasuke. I'll let Indra and Azura awaken early, so they can get used to life in the Pure Land. 2 souls appeared in Arisu's hands. Indra and Azura. Chapter 168, Chapter 168, Indra and Azura in the Pure Land. 2 faint, drifting strands of soul light slowly rose from Arisu's palm. They were the portions of Indra and Azura's souls that had remained with him back then. Immediately after, Arisu extended his palm slightly forward. Buzz. The 2 strands of soul light seemed to be drawn by an invisible force, slowly flowing and taking shape. Little by little, they outlined the familiar forms of Indra and Azura. A faint spiritual glow surrounded their soul bodies as they gradually solidified into tangible figures. In the next moment, the 2 souls slowly opened their eyes and looked around at the completely unfamiliar surroundings in confusion. Then their gazes locked firmly onto Arisu standing before them, and a storm of shock rose instantly. Master. Ancestor. The 2 voices sounded at the same time, both filled with disbelief and shock. The 2 of them subconsciously turned their heads and their eyes met, both freezing in place. Azura. Brother. Their calls to each other were full of unexpected surprise. From their own perspectives, it felt as if they had simply closed their eyes and taken a short nap. Azura could no longer suppress the question surging in his heart. He stepped forward half a step and asked, Ancestor, what exactly is going on? I clearly remember that I was no longer among the living. Yeah, Master, what happened exactly? Indra also suppressed the confusion in his eyes and looked steadily at Arisu, his tone carrying the same doubt. Arisu looked at the 2 brothers and slowly shook his head. For you, it was just the brief moment of closing and opening your eyes. But for me, this period of time has already stretched across nearly 1,000 years. As soon as these words were spoken, both Indra and Azura trembled violently. Master, has it really been nearly 1,000 years? To me, everything felt like the blink of an eye. Just a moment ago, I was still lying in the snow, my consciousness completely fading, and the next moment, I saw you. Indra slowly looked around. His soul-body fingers moved slightly, his eyes filled with an unreal sense of illusion as he spoke softly. Azura's expression, however, suddenly tightened. Ancestor, then that means, several hundred years have already passed. What about the Ninshu? What happened to the Ninshu that father left behind? Azura looked at Arisu anxiously. From beginning to end, he had always cared about the legacy passed down by his father Hagoromo, cared about the future of the Ninshu and the countless people within it. After his death, what would happen to them? Indra's gaze also dimmed slightly, concern for the state of the Ninshu rising in his heart as he silently waited for the answer. Arisu's expression sank slightly when he heard this, a trace of memory passing through his eyes. The Ninshu has already been destroyed for 800 years. 60 years after your deaths, after going through continuous conflicts, it completely came to an end. The words entered his ears. Azura's body suddenly trembled. Thud. 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 He staggered back a few steps, his eyes instantly filling with uncontrollable daze and deep disappointment. Even though he had long prepared himself for the worst in his heart, hearing the news of the Ninshu's destruction with his own ears was still unbearable. After all, in his perception, just a moment ago he had carefully arranged everything for the Ninshu. Yet in the blink of an eye, he heard that it had been destroyed. That gap and pain hit him hard. Then, a sharp burst of laughter suddenly exploded. Ha ha ha, just as I thought. Just as I thought. I already said long ago that such an organization couldn't last. The Ninshu was never a true nation. It had no complete bureaucratic system to maintain internal order, nor a mature commercial system to support its survival. From beginning to end, it was just a loose alliance where the clans produced and consumed everything themselves. If it weren't for Hagoromo's strength, using absolute power to forcibly maintain that fragile rule, the Ninshu wouldn't have lasted even 60 years from its founding. It would have fallen apart long ago. Indra understood the underlying logic of power structures and survival far better than the straightforward Azura. Azura, I told you before. If I had taken the position of leader of the Ninshu back then, I would have pushed for a complete transformation, used absolute strength to unify all sides, and established dominion over the world early on. How could it have ended in destruction? Indra spoke calmly, his tone full of certainty and arrogance from above. Even though his words were filled with mockery, the light in his soul-body eyes dimmed slightly, and a trace of regret flashed deep inside. The ninja was also something he had poured his effort into, teaching people ninjutsu and hand seals, building its foundation step by step. Even if his ideals had always opposed Azura's, hearing that something he helped build had completely collapsed still left a faint sense of loss. He paid no attention to Azura, who was still immersed in disappointment, and suddenly turned to Arisu, the urgency in his eyes no longer hidden. Master, that 1,000-year agreement, what was the result? Hearing about the 1,000-year agreement, Azura let out a soft sigh and also looked at Arisu. As for that, I'll show you. Arisu slowly took out a stone tablet and let it float in front of them. The two immediately stepped forward to look. The score had become 4-3. Indra's reincarnations had a slight advantage. Heh, I knew it. My descendants are better than Azura's. Though, letting Azura's side win 3 times, my descendants are quite disappointing too. I thought the agreement would end with all victories on my side. It seems your descendants also have some capable ones. Indra looked at the tablet and spoke calmly, Sigh, brother, as long as you're happy. Seeing that his side was behind, Azura felt a slight sense of relief in his heart. Let his brother win. If his brother couldn't win against him, it felt like his brother might cause trouble again. There are still 2 generations left. These 2 will be the key to deciding the outcome. We can just wait and see, Orisa said calmly. Master, where exactly are we now? Indra couldn't help but ask. This is the pure land I created. The souls of the dead all come here, including your father and the people of the Ninshu, Orisa replied. Hearing this, Azura's eyes lit up. That meant he could see his wife, children, and family again. He also missed Hagoromo. Indra, on the other hand, remained expressionless, as if he didn't care. There were simply too few people he truly cared about. He had many wives, but none of them were close to him. Master, are my reincarnations here as well? I'd like to meet them, Indra suddenly asked. Arisu raised an eyebrow. Ancestor, I'd like to see mine too, Azura said as well, wanting to meet his reincarnations and express both gratitude and guilt. After all, if not for the 1,000-year agreement they set, their reincarnations might have lived happier lives. Arisu smiled. Originally, he had planned to release them after the 1,000-year agreement ended. Since both of them wanted to see them now, he would arrange it. In truth, if the reincarnations met each other, Azura's reincarnations would probably get along peacefully, maybe even become friends. But Indra's, that was uncertain. With how proud each of them was, they might not be able to stand each other at all. Chapter 169, Chapter 169, People Who Know Everything. With a thought from Arisu, several souls descended in front of him. The phantoms churned and flowed, their spirits slowly solidifying and taking shape, eventually turning into the reincarnated forms of Indra and Azura from past generations. Senju Shuichi, Uchiha Izumaki, Senju Mio, Uchiha Katsu, Senju Hikari, Uchiha Yui, Senju Sayura, Uchiha Yuto, Uzumaki Itsuki appeared one after another. Even Uchiha Haruka and Senju Shohaku, who had been stationed at the edge of the Pure Land, were pulled over by Arisu's power across space, arriving here in an instant. 11 reincarnated powerhouses, all gathered, all present. Uchiha Izumaki slowly opened his eyes and looked around in confusion. Izumaki. Before Izumaki could even process what was happening, Senju Shuichi called out with joy and surprise all over his face. Shuichi. Uchiha Izumaki jolted, instinctively trying to activate his Mangekyo Sharingan to attack. Senju Shuichi ran over with an excited expression. As Shuichi got closer and closer, Uchiha Izumaki's face filled with panic. But the imagined monstrous Senju punch never came. What greeted him instead was a big embrace from Senju Shuichi. Woo. I missed you so much. I really shouldn't have back then, we could have created an era of peace. Senju Shuichi cried, his voice trembling. Indra frowned tightly, his expression turning unpleasant as he looked at the two. He had originally thought that when his reincarnations and Azura's reincarnations met, it would immediately turn into an intense fight, definitely a tense standoff. But now, why did it feel like some kind of tragic romance instead? Azura also looked at Shuichi and Izumaki in surprise. Uchiha Katsu glanced around calmly. Then he sighed inwardly. Sigh, how boring. After learning that he was just a puppet manipulated by fate, Uchiha Katsu had already given up. Since it was like this anyway, he might as well accept it. Suddenly, Uchiha Katsu sensed something off. He turned his head. Only to see Senju Mio staring at him with anger, her face cold and filled with hatred. Mio. For the first time in ages, Uchiha Katsu's usual indifferent expression showed a reaction. Before he could speak, an angry voice rang out again. Uchiha Katsu. Senju Hikari glared at him furiously. Uchiha Katsu felt a bit speechless. Sure enough, after death, you could see the people you wanted to see, and also the ones you didn't. What is going on? Uchiha Yui frowned tightly. She clearly remembered being covered in explosive tags and blowing herself up. Until she caught sight of Senju Sayura nearby. Senju Sayura. You brat. Uchiha Yui shouted in shock. Hee, hello there, clan leader Yui. Senju Sayura forced a laugh and waved his hand. With Black Zetsu not around, he couldn't act too arrogantly. Go die. Uchiha Yui instinctively threw a punch. Senju Sayura was immediately pinned to the ground and beaten with a flurry of punches. Stop hitting, misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. We should already be dead. Senju Sayura hurriedly explained. Black Zetsu isn't here, I'll hold back for now. Uchiha Yuto and Uzumaki Itsuki exchanged a glance, still on edge, both taking up the starting stance for ninjutsu. Uchiha Hiruka and Senju Shohaku looked at each other, then smoothly stepped forward and bowed to Arisu. We pay respects to the Sage of Six Paths. That single line instantly silenced the scene. Everyone looked carefully. There, exactly like in the portraits, stood the Sage of Six Paths at the front, with Indra and Azura standing on either side of him. Uchiha Yui suddenly remembered something, her body staggering slightly, her eyes filled with shock as years of atheism were completely shattered. Uchiha Izumaki and Senju Shuichi immediately performed the highest form of respect, dropping to their knees. We pay respects to the Sage of Six Paths. Uchiha Katsu let out a sigh. Now he had finally met the embodiment of fate itself. For a moment, everyone began to respectfully salute Arisu. No need for formalities. Arisu waved his hand slightly. The scene quieted down. Everyone looked at each other, unsure of what to do. Arisu rubbed his forehead. With so many reincarnations of Indra and Azura here, how was he supposed to explain all of this? At that moment, Arisu suddenly sensed something. Just when you need a pillow, one shows up. Perfect. Arisu directly reached out and teleported Black Zetsu, who was in the Pure Land, over. Under normal circumstances, living beings from the mortal world couldn't enter the Pure Land. But Black Zetsu was different. He was essentially a manifestation of will and energy, so he could freely enter and leave the Pure Land. A Black Zetsu dressed in a white sage robe appeared. Great Sage, you called for me. Black Zetsu smiled respectfully. Then when he saw the many reincarnations of Indra and Azura, his expression froze. Third uncle. Indra and Azura stepped forward slightly and cupped their hands in greeting. No need for such courtesy. Black Zetsu smiled. When Senju Sayura saw Black Zetsu, his eyes lit up. He excitedly looked at him, blinking repeatedly in greeting. Black Zetsu naturally saw Senju Sayura too. He smiled and blinked back. The two understood each other without words. Black Zetsu, explain these matters to them. Introduce everything to Azura, Indra, and all these reincarnations. I still have some things to take care of, so I'll leave it to you. After Orisa finished speaking, his figure slowly disappeared. He didn't feel like explaining everything himself. It would take far too long. Better to leave it to Black Zetsu. In the blink of an eye, Orisa returned to the ninja world. Looking at the sleeping baby Uchiha Madara, Orisa continued reading and writing. Pure Land. Everyone stared at Black Zetsu with wide eyes. Black Zetsu immediately put on a dignified posture. Ahem, do not be alarmed. This immortal is named Black Zetsu. You may call me Immortal Black Zetsu. He spoke with his hands behind his back, tone calm. The next second, Senju Sayura rushed forward and hugged him. Come on, stop acting. I missed you so much. I never thought we'd meet again. So you're actually a subordinate of the Sage of Six Paths. Senju Sayura said happily as he hugged him. Black Zetsu felt a bit helpless. He actually missed Senju Sayura too. Ever since the Pure Land was created, Black Zetsu had entered it before, trying to find Senju Sayura and catch up. But none of the reincarnated souls had been there at the time. Ahem, third uncle. Indra reminded him. Black Zetsu smiled. Forget it, no need to keep up the immortal act. The way he looked didn't really fit that image anyway. Everyone, hello. I'm Black Zetsu. Your histories were all recorded by me and another sage, Fukasaku. Next, I'll explain everything to you from beginning to end. After that, Black Zetsu quickly explained the 1,000-year agreement to all the reincarnations and clearly told them about the reincarnation cycle. Everyone present was intelligent. They immediately understood what was going on. In that instant, a sense of melancholy rose in everyone's hearts. So their magnificent, eventful lives were nothing more than part of a competition. The reincarnations of Azura took it better. They smiled. If that was the case, then they would just treat everything as a stage play. And they had all played their parts well. The reincarnations of Indra, on the other hand, found it hard to accept and were deeply shocked. They were all proud Uchiha. How could they accept that they were merely part of some contest? They were themselves. They refused to accept being defined as someone's reincarnation. Only Uchiha Katsu looked completely indifferent. Whatever. He had already known long ago. He had already accepted it. Party popper shout out to Paulius for joining Trian. Thank you very much, hugging face. Chapter 170, Black Zetsu's Introduction. Ahem. Black Zetsu cleared his throat twice. Indra, Azura, next, I will properly introduce these reincarnated individuals to you. Oh my, heroes have always been as numerous as fish crossing a river, but if the history of the ninja world were missing the few standing here, I'm afraid it would lose more than half of its excitement and upheaval. Black Zetsu raised his hand and clapped lightly, then stepped to the side, officially beginning his introduction of these reincarnations who carried the bloodlines of the two. He first pointed towards Shuichi. You're still too naive. The Uchiha clan's hostility toward the Senju came from the clan rules left behind by my father. Even if you hadn't killed me, my descendants would still have gone to war against the Senju clan. This conflict was already destined. Indra's gaze sharpened instantly when he heard this, and he looked straight at Izumaki, asking in a low voice, "Oh. Who is your father?" "Uchiha Soto. You should know him. He is your youngest grandson." Izumaki replied in a deep voice, his tone carrying respect for his ancestor. A look of realization flashed in Indra's eyes as he nodded lightly. So it was Soto. When I was on my deathbed, I did specifically instruct him not to forget the struggles between ninja clans. I didn't expect that kid to carry out my words so thoroughly. His tone suddenly changed, and Indra's brows furrowed sharply, a trace of disbelief and anger appearing on his face. Wait, you said you were killed by this kid named Shuichi. That means, you lost. Uchiha Izumaki immediately snorted coldly, his voice filled with unwillingness and frustration. Yes. I did lose. He raised his eyes to stare directly at Indra, his voice suddenly rising as he questioned sharply, his long-suppressed anger bursting out, then let me ask you this. As the ancestor of the Uchiha, you should know about the Mangekyo Sharingan, right? Hearing the words, Mangekyo Sharingan, Indra paused slightly, a clear look of astonishment appearing on his face. The Mangekyo Sharingan. Is it the evolved form of the three-tomo Sharingan? The kind where unique patterns appear in the eyes? Indra frowned tightly, asking with confusion, clearly having many doubts. That's right. Since you know about this eye technique, then I have to ask you. Izumaki's voice grew colder. This power is indeed strong, but the negative cost that comes with it is enough to destroy a person. I simply couldn't bear the backlash of this power. If my eyes hadn't been on the verge of blindness and my strength greatly reduced, I would never have rushed into a decisive battle with Shuichi. Since you were determined for your descendants to win, why didn't you leave behind a method to resolve the blindness caused by the Mangekyo Sharingan? This question landed heavily. The Uchiha members standing behind immediately turned their gazes toward Indra in unison. They had long held the same doubt in their hearts. They had wanted to ask Izumaki, but unexpectedly, Izumaki himself knew nothing about it and was just as confused. Only Uchiha Yui remained calm, completely unconcerned with the dispute. She had never even awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan, so she had no need to worry about such things. Indra's brows furrowed even tighter, his face full of confusion and speechlessness as he spoke in a low voice, "What nonsense are you talking about? The Sharingan is the Sharingan. As long as you control your own eye technique, how could blindness even be a thing? Back in my time, I constantly used the Sharingan in battles and training, and I never experienced even the slightest decline in my vision. Then why do we have to bear the risk of blindness? As the ancestor of the Uchiha, you actually know nothing about this." Uchiha Shohaku couldn't hold back and spoke up. Indra's expression remained indifferent as he replied coldly, "If you want to know the reason, you'll have to ask my so-called biological father." Hearing this, the Uchiha present all showed speechless expressions, standing there awkwardly, not knowing how to respond. "Ancestor, I'm sorry. It was all my fault that the conflict between the two clans escalated to this point." Senju Shuichi quickly turned to Azura and bowed apologetically. Azura gently patted his shoulder, his expression warm and without any blame, smiling softly. "It's fine, Shuichi. It was the Uchiha clan that initiated the conflict. We were only defending ourselves. You don't need to take all the blame on yourself." After saying that, he turned to Black Zetsu and spoke calmly, "Third uncle, please continue. I would like to hear more about my descendants." Black Zetsu smiled meaningfully when he heard this. He immediately stepped to the side, his gaze landing on the seemingly laid-back Uchiha Katsu, and reached out to pat his shoulder. "All right. Then next, this one is even more heavyweight. The men who crossed the river in mourning clothes, the first to kill love to prove his path, the legendary tank of the ninja world who just wouldn't die, the one who single-handedly pierced through 2 generations of Azura's reincarnations, Uchiha Katsu. As soon as these words fell, everyone's gaze instantly focused on Uchiha Katsu, their eyes filled with all kinds of emotions. Immortal Black Zetsu, please watch your words. What do you mean by killing love to prove his path? I was never close to him. Don't make such baseless connections. Senju Mio immediately snorted coldly, turning her head away sharply, unwilling to even look at Uchiha Katsu, her tone full of rejection. Sorry, Mio, I misspoke. But from my perspective, he really did love you. Black Zetsu said apologetically. Humph. Shameless men, acting without any bottom line or restraint. It's utterly disgusting. Senju Hikari glared at Uchiha Katsu with wide eyes full of anger, his tone filled with disdain and hatred. In stark contrast, the other Uchiha present all looked at him with admiration and reverence, their expressions full of excitement. p@trian.com/xenosx. Partying face. Joining p@trian keeps me motivated and eager to work diligently, so please consider joining. Smiling face with hearts. Chapter 171, Chapter 171, We are terrified. It's actually clan leader Katsu. Oh my god, I'm your most loyal follower. The orphan subsidies must be distributed on time. If it weren't for the orphan policy you implemented, someone of my background would never have had the chance to sit in the position of clan leader of the Uchiha clan. Uchiha Yui's voice trembled with excitement, her eyes filled with admiration and gratitude as she looked at Uchiha Katsu. It really is that lord. The one who crossed the river in white and stirred up the entire ninja world structure, Lord Katsu. I've always admired you deeply. Uchiha Shohaku also spoke up in shock. Just now, Uchiha Katsu's lazy, completely unmotivated appearance made it impossible for anyone to associate him with the famous warlord of the ninja world. They almost thought he was just some nobody by the roadside, but it turned out he was a giant. As expected of clan leader Katsu, truly impressive. I've only ever seen records of you in the clan's ancient texts. The internal reforms you carried out back then broke many old rules, and to this day, they still profoundly influence our Uchiha clan. Uchiha Yuto also spoke with heartfelt admiration, his tone full of respect. Senju stroked his chin, his gaze pausing on Uchiha Katsu as he commented. The swordsmanship he created does have its merits. Both its force and structure are exceptional. It's this villain. Ever since he disregarded morality and crossed the river in mourning clothes, the battles among the ninja clans have lost all restraint, becoming increasingly cruel and brutal, directly dragging down the moral bottom line of the entire ninja world. Senju Hirako pointed at Uchiha Katsu, his tone full of condemnation. Uzumaki Itsuki lazily yawned, his tone casual and indifferent, carrying a hint of disregard. He's just a notorious figure, nothing more than a mess. Our Uzumaki clan doesn't like him either, but to be fair, he really is a clan leader capable of bringing prosperity to the Uchiha and stabilizing their power. Faced with the mixed, even completely opposite evaluations around him, Uchiha Katsu only gave a faint smile, his expression calm and unmoved. He had long heard these slanders and praises countless times. After experiencing the ups and downs of life, his heart was already unmoved, completely unaffected by either gain or loss. Oh. 2 wins in a row. That's really given me quite a surprise. Katsu, you've done well. You may face me openly and honestly. Indra curled the corner of his mouth slightly and praised. Next, Senju Mio, originally Uchiha Katsu's lover, but due to clan issues, the two parted ways. After that, in order to awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan, Uchiha Katsu killed the person he loved most and obtained the Mangekyo Sharingan. Black Zetsu introduced this with a slightly regretful tone. Senju Mio closed her eyes and remained silent. Hearing this, everyone looked at Uchiha Katsu in disbelief. Clan leader Katsu actually, the clan records didn't mention this. Uchiha Yui looked at Uchiha Katsu with a complicated and shocked expression. Something that ugly wouldn't be written down. Senju Hikari said coldly. To kill the one you love most just to awaken the Sharingan. What a cruel person. Uchiha Izumi frowned tightly as he looked at Katsu. His own Mangekyo had awakened after witnessing the death of a close relative. If he could choose, he would rather not have awakened it at all. Others awakened it passively. But Uchiha Katsu awakened it actively. Ashura and Indra were both stunned when they heard what Katsu had done. This was indeed a bit monstrous. They had both received good education, personally taught by Hagoromo, so their moral standards were naturally high. Although Indra would use ruthless methods, he would never kill his loved ones just for power. Uchiha Katsu crossed his arms and said calmly, "You're all not from the bottom. I've seen too many cruel things. You're all from the upper ranks. You don't understand my hardships. Ninja World, Uchiha Clan. Council Hall. The clan leader is dead. The most urgent matter now is to choose a new clan leader. Yeah, but who do we choose? Let's choose the clan leader's son. No, no, our Uchiha have always respected strength above all. The strongest should be the clan leader. I suggest choosing clan leader Yudo's uncle. His strength is sufficient. I think we should choose Taijima. He's a pretty good young man. A group of elders and high-ranking Uchiha were intensely discussing the candidate for clan leader. Uchiha Taijima sat upright, nervously watching the elders' discussion. He also wanted to compete for the position, but he was too young. He had too few supporters, and most of them were young people, whose voices didn't carry much weight. None of the clan elders supported him. Most of them supported Yudo's uncle. Sigh, looks like I'll have to wait a bit longer, Uchiha Taijima sighed inwardly. At that moment, a voice rang out. The clan elder has arrived. In an instant, several Uchiha guards walked in respectfully. Arisu leaned on a cane, his expression indifferent as he slowly entered the meeting room. The moment everyone saw Arisu, their hearts jolted. They all became solemn and stood up to greet the clan elder. Greetings, clan elder. Greetings, clan elder. Whether elders or high-ranking members, all spoke respectfully. Who is he? Some younger members looked confused. Hearing this, Uchiha Sabaka felt like crying but had no tears. Damn it, when he tried to rally support, no one followed. If all the elders had pressured together, the outcome might not have been certain. Only Uchiha Yui showed an expression both awkward and embarrassed. This is bad. Why does someone still remember that poem I wrote back then? Wait, I wrote it at the Six Paths Temple. The Six Paths Sage must have seen it. That's even worse. It's already lucky he didn't punish me. Everyone, this poem was written by Uchiha Yui for the Six Paths Sage. Black Zetsu said with a sly grin, reminding the crowd. Oh. I see. Huh. Wait. Written for who? The moment those words came out, everyone jolted, their expressions either horrified or barely holding back laughter as they looked at Uchiha Yui. Indra looked shocked, but then a strange smile appeared on his face. Oh, she did something I've always wanted to do but couldn't. Uchiha Yui helplessly bowed. It was this young woman's impropriety, failing to recognize a true immortal. Clan head Yui, you really are lucky. The Six Paths Sage didn't take it to heart. You were born in a good time. As for me, I was born on the eve of the sage's demon slaying, and he casually wiped me out, Uchiha Shohaku said with a bitter smile. Well, still, the ancestor really is handsome. To be fair, it's only human nature. In the past, many female disciples of the Ninja Sect also made mistakes when looking at the ancestor's portrait. Who could blame them? The portrait was just too good-looking. If it had been drawn as an old man, this wouldn't have happened, Azura said with a laugh and a shrug. I remember that painting was drawn by Hagoromo. In that case, it's my biological father's fault again, Indra said flatly. Azura's expression stiffened. Well, who told the ancestor to be that handsome? I don't dare comment on Sage's true appearance, but it really is peerless, Uchiha Katsu praised. Oh my, oh my, oh my, the great Sage's true appearance, that divine radiance was dazzling. It almost blinded my eyes, ha ha ha, Uchiha Shohaku laughed as he praised. When I was alive, every time I went to the Six Paths Temple, I could feel the great Sage's heroic aura rushing toward me. Even through the portrait, I could sense the Sage's divine might, Senju Hiruka praised. Ha ha ha, looks like we all think alike. When I was little, I also thought the Sage was incredibly heroic. Uzumaki Itsuki immediately chimed in. It feels a bit familiar. I always feel like one of the elder grandpas in my clan looks quite similar to the great Sage. One of them looked at the portrait thoughtfully. I envy the Six Paths Sage's sons. They can openly call him Dad, Senju Sayura said. Thinking about how the ancestor's portrait can be seen by everyone, I actually feel a trace of jealousy. Indra sighed. Seeing everyone chatting away, Black Zetsu felt a bit speechless. As expected, when talking about other things, these reincarnations might start fighting. But when it came to this, everyone got along just fine. Another day, he should gather the people in the Pure Land and rank the looks of famous figures from past generations, from best to worst. Hey, 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 that's enough, everyone. Who knows if Lord Six Paths can actually hear you? Black Zetsu interrupted them. Chapter 173, Chapter 173, the more you understand, the greater Sage Orisa becomes. Next, Black Zetsu introduced the later generations of Indra's reincarnations, and at the same time told everyone the rules of the Pure Land. Finally finished the introductions. Anything else? I'm leaving. I don't want to stay with this guy for even one more second. I'm going to walk around the Pure Land myself. Senju Mio's face darkened as she left directly. Hey. Mio. Wait for me, Uchiha Katsu rarely looked flustered, and hurriedly chased after her. Everyone looked at each other. Indra rubbed his brow and let out a slight sigh. Brother, want to come see father with me? He must really want to see the two of us. Ashura suggested. Hearing this, Indra's expression turned cold, and he said in a chilly voice, the one he wants to see is you. Not me. Besides, I've already cut off my father-son relationship with him. I'm going back to my clan. After saying that, Indra looked at the other reincarnations of Indra. Uchiha, come with me. We're going back to our clan in the Pure Land. The Uchiha all nodded. I also want to see my parents, Uchiha Izumaki said. Same here, Uchiha Shohaku said. Sigh, Uchiha Sora nodded and followed along. Indra suddenly paused and looked at Uchiha Shohaku. Wait, you can't go. Weren't you punished by my master to develop the Pure Land? Go back and get to work, Indra pointed at Uchiha Shohaku as he spoke. Uchiha Shohaku's expression stiffened. All right. Can someone give me a ride? From here to the edge of the Pure Land takes forever to run. Even taking a Pure Land airship, it still takes days and nights to get there. This place is pretty close to the main city of the Pure Land. There's a teleportation gate opened by Hagoromo over there. You have to line up, but it's fast. I remember it costs a few thousand underworld coins per trip. Want to borrow some from me? Black Zetsu asked with a grin. Uchiha Shohaku's face darkened. Sage, I've saved up some money over the years developing the Pure Land. No need to trouble you. On the other side, the reincarnations of Ashura. Everyone's done great. Let's go, I'll take you all home, Ashura said with a gentle smile. Pure Land main city. Otsutsuki Hagoromo had just finished preaching. At this moment, he was nestled closely with his three wives. His left arm lightly embraced Hagoromo's robe, on his right leaned the mother of Indra and Ashura, and in his arms lay quietly the commoner wife who had given birth to the golden and silver lineage. This Pure Land created by Arisu had truly fulfilled Otsutsuki Hagoromo's lifelong wish. Once upon a time, all three of his wives had met tragic ends, leaving him behind far too early, separated by life and death, with only regret to carry through endless years. But now, his beloved ones were all by his side, no longer separated by life and death. The ambition he had pursued his entire life, to spread Ninshu and bring peace to the world, had also been completely realized within this Pure Land. There was no hatred here, no bloodline conflicts, no lingering regrets. It was exactly the ideal world Otsutsuki Hagoromo had imagined countless times. Thinking of this, Hagoromo's heart was filled with gratitude. Looking toward the depths of the Pure Land, he let out a heartfelt sigh. Sigh, Teacher Arisu, the more I understand you, the more I feel just how towering you truly are. The more I understand, the greater you are. All the regrets he had failed to mend in his life, all the wishes he could not fulfill, everything he couldn't achieve even with all his effort, his teacher had actually accomplished all of it for him. At this point, what more was there to say? Firmly support the Sage of Six Paths, Sect Master Ashura has arrived. Several slightly hurried announcements sounded out. Sarutobi was seen leading Ashura as they slowly stepped into the residence. Ashura. Hagoromo's eyes instantly burst with intense joy. He immediately stood up and walked toward his son, his voice full of surprise. The sage was willing to let you out. Ah. Father. Ashura stood where he was, looking blankly at the three women beside Hagoromo, his eyes filled with shock. Ashura stood there in a daze. Father has changed. In all my memories growing up, father was always devoted to preaching, pure and detached, never close to women. How could he be like this now? In his memory, ever since he was born, his father had thrown himself completely into passing down Ninshu, and there had never been any woman by his side. Hee. Seeing his son's confused and awkward look, Hagoromo smiled faintly and gently introduced them. No need to be nervous, and no need to find it strange. They are all your mothers. Hearing this, Ashura looked even more embarrassed, his expression almost unable to hold. Was this a joke? He had lived so long without a mother, and now suddenly he had mothers, and three of them at that. No one could just accept that calmly on the spot. Ha ha ha. Seeing his son at a loss, Hagoromo just smiled gently and didn't explain further. In truth, he himself knew. He had originally wanted to stick to his pure and detached heart and spend the rest of his days peacefully. But when, in the Pure Land, he saw Hagoromo, his white moonlight, the one he had never been able to let go of in his entire life, return in her youthful appearance. That heart of his, weathered by 1,000 years and long since calm, finally broke completely. It wasn't that Otsutsuki Hagoromo had been repressing his desires or that his younger brother had taken over his body. It was just that the regrets and longing buried deep in his heart surged all at once. Even after living for so many years. Seeing again the beloved he had missed for a lifetime, seeing again that white moonlight he could never get over, Hagoromo still couldn't stop his eyes from reddening, his heart filled with the urge to make up for every debt of the past. So he married her. After that, he met again the mother of Indra and Asura. They had been married for less than a year before she passed away after giving birth to the two children. That brief yet sincere marriage had become another pain in his heart he could never let go. Now that they could reunite and stay together, how could he deliberately distance himself? Chapter 174, Unifying the World. Uchiha Clan Grounds. A fine drizzle fell in a steady patter, dampening the bluestone in the courtyard and raising a thin, misty layer of moisture. Uchiha Taijima stood under the corridor with his hands behind his back, gazing at the endless strands of rain. A faint smile curled at his lips as he spoke. "Grandfather, if you ask me, before autumn arrives this year, my second son will be born." Arisu, who was teasing the swaddled Uchiha Madara nearby, lifted his eyes at the words. "Taijima, everything needs moderation. Among common folk, having many children is seen as a blessing, but you and I live in an age of war. Some matters still need to be considered carefully," Orisa said slowly. His words were spoken in a veiled way. In the original story, Madara had 3 younger brothers, all of whom perished in the flames of war. It wasn't that Orisa was unwilling to protect these children, but he knew well that Madara was Indra's reincarnation. Rashly altering the fate of his close kin could bring about unknown consequences. He treated Madara like his own grandson, but that closeness was ultimately mixed with considerations regarding Indra's reincarnation. If there were more younger brothers, would they end up becoming sacrifices for Madara to awaken his Sharingan? Used as materials to open his eyes, was that it? Arisu absolutely did not want to see such an outcome. Uchiha Taijima's expression shifted slightly. After a moment of thought, he nodded slowly. "Grandfather is right. Having 2 children is already more than enough for me." Taijima reached out and caught a falling raindrop, his tone carrying a trace more ease. Taijima's greatest strength was that he listened to advice. Things were no longer the same as in the original. If it were the current Taijima seeing a bond between Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama, he would simply turn a blind eye, not go so far as to wipe them out. Arisu let out a light chuckle. "Focus more on your health and longevity. In the future, you'll naturally live to see your descendants thrive." Taijima's eyes lit up immediately, and he quickly asked, "Grandfather, your appearance hasn't changed in decades, and your lifespan is so long. Could it be that you have some secret method?" From as far back as he could remember, his grandfather had always looked like this, as if time had never left any marks on him. Doubt had long filled his heart. Arisu smiled faintly and didn't reveal the truth of his longevity. Instead, he beckoned mysteriously. "Taijima, come closer. I'll only tell you." A sharp glint flashed in Taijima's eyes as he immediately leaned in. Lowering his voice, Arisu whispered a few words. After hearing it, Taijima froze for a moment. His face instantly flushed red as he looked at Arisu in shock. "Grandfather, is that really true?" Arisu nodded meaningfully. "When have I ever lied to you?" Taijima's expression stiffened, then he let out a helpless sigh. "Sigh, if that's the case, I'm afraid I have no chance of learning this method in this lifetime. To think I'd have to keep observing." He looked at Arisu with amazement. The secret to longevity his grandfather told him was to remain a lifelong virgin. But he had already married and built a family. Naturally, that path was no longer possible for him. Was Uchiha Taijima still pure? Come on, don't make him laugh. That ship had long sailed. Forget it. "Thank you, grandfather, for telling me." Taijima rubbed his brow, hiding the regret in his heart. Arisu smiled. Of course, he wouldn't tell Taijima the truth. Though it was true that he himself was still a virgin. "By the way, have you decided on a name for your second son?" Arisu changed the topic. Taijima quickly smiled. "That matter will have to trouble you to decide, grandfather. Your grandson wouldn't dare choose on his own." Arisu didn't refuse. After a brief moment of thought, he spoke slowly. "How about Izuna?" "Uchiha Izuna." "Izuna." Taijima repeated it once, and his eyes immediately brightened. He clapped his hands in praise. "A good name. Truly a good name." Arisu stroked his beard lightly, a faint smile rippling in his eyes. "Grandfather, there's one more thing I'd like to ask for your approval." Taijima's expression gradually turned serious, and his tone carried a trace of hesitation. "You and I are grandfather and grandson. There's no need to be so reserved," Arisu said calmly. Taijima took a deep breath, bowed, and spoke with utmost sincerity. "Your grandson's qualifications are still shallow, and most of the clan elders are conservative types. They can't shoulder the greater responsibility. I humbly ask grandfather to come out and help me revitalize the Uchiha together. Others may not know your abilities, but I know them clearly. You hold vast strategies in your mind, unmatched in wisdom. From within the tent, you can already decide the future situation. If grandfather oversees the clan and manages the rear, while I lead the troops to fight outside, our Uchiha clan will surely create an unprecedented grand hegemony. Arisu's gaze was deep, silent. No one could see through the thoughts in his heart. After a long while, he slowly propped himself up with his cane and stood. Since you ask so earnestly, then this old man will step out once, the steady voice fell. Uchiha Taijima's whole body trembled. He couldn't hide his excitement, and even his voice shook. The Uchiha clan's future is bright. Trembling voice. Year 827 of the ninja calendar, Uchiha Azuna was born within the Uchiha clan grounds. That same year, Arisu officially took over the position of the Uchiha Great Elder, becoming the core authority who controlled internal affairs and determined the clan's foundation. Arisu had already accumulated over 1,000 years of governance experience. After taking the position, with just a few small measures, he brought the Uchiha clan's internal affairs into perfect order. From small matters like the allocation of ninjutsu resources among clan members, to major issues like defensive arrangements of the clan grounds and the operation of logistical reserves, he arranged everything flawlessly. In just a short time, through his steady and fair conduct and impeccable decisions, he became a pillar respected by everyone in the clan, held in the highest esteem. In the blink of an eye, 5 years passed. During these 5 years, Arisu stayed within the clan, stabilizing its foundation and carefully managing internal affairs. Clan head Uchiha Taijima, on the other hand, took charge of external matters, charging across battlefields in constant warfare. The two worked in tandem, complementing each other perfectly. Within the clan, the Uchiha trained in an orderly manner, hearts united. The clan's strength rose steadily, and the entire group showed a thriving, prosperous new outlook. On this day, Uchiha Taijima hurried into Arisu's courtyard. "Grandfather. I want to build a village," Uchiha Taijima spoke loudly. Arisu lifted his eyes to look at him. Taijima stepped forward, his tone growing more passionate. "You used to tell me that the ninja world was once unified. Now I want to gather all the ninja clans within the land of fire and bring them under one rule." Hearing Taijima's ambitious words, Arisu was momentarily stunned. Then a hint of interest flashed through his deep eyes. He had originally planned to wait for Hashirama and Madara to grow up and let them lead the wave of village building in the ninja world. He hadn't expected that now, he and Taijima could take the lead and personally complete this crucial step that would reshape the structure of the ninja world. There was no helping it. He had already made too many changes. The Uchiha now had the capital to unify. And Uchiha Taijima was not a ruler content with maintaining the status quo. After a brief moment of thought, Arisu nodded firmly and replied in a resolute tone, "Good. I fully agree. Tell me, how do you plan to do it?" With Arisu's full approval, Uchiha Taijima's eyes instantly ignited with blazing fighting spirit. He blurted out, "One word. Fight. Those who follow us prosper, those who oppose us perish." With the Uchiha's current strength, sweeping through all the ninja clans in the land of fire is absolutely not difficult. Wrong. Arisu immediately cut him off in a deep voice. He shook his head and slowly stated his core view: blind killing will only make countless enemies and force all clans to unite against us. My suggestion is to win people's hearts and unify the world. Chapter 175, Building the Village, Konoha. Taijima, who had just been filled with overwhelming battle intent, was instantly snapped awake by Arisu's sharp rebuke. The fierce killing intent around him suddenly withdrew. He completely calmed down, holding his breath as he waited for Arisu's next plan. Arisu slowly rose from his seat. With a light flick of his wrist, a detailed and meticulously marked map of the entire land of fire appeared out of thin air in front of them. On the map, mountains and rivers, cities and tribes, and the boundaries of various forces were all clearly labeled. Arisu tapped the central area of the map with his fingertip, then looked steadily at Taijima and said, "I'll handle the fire daimyo and the court forces. You'll be responsible for subduing the major ninja clans within the territory. We'll work inside and out together, attacking from both sides." Hearing this, Taijima's brows immediately furrowed. "Grandfather, I think we should just kill the daimyo," Taijima proposed. Arisu shook his head. "No. We'll still have plenty of use for them in the future." Taijima thought for a moment, then couldn't help voicing his concern. "Grandfather, the fire daimyo and his people are all skilled in power plays and deeply calculating. They're extremely hard to deal with. If we build a village, we'll definitely touch their interests. Rather than using them, it's better to kill them. Besides, those bastards claim to the outside world that their territory was personally granted by the Sage of Six Paths, sacred and inviolable. That's how they maintain the legitimacy of their rule." "And do you believe that claim?" Arisu asked. Taijima laughed and shook his head, his tone carrying a bit of disdain. "Of course I don't believe that nonsense. It's nothing more than a cover the daimyo used to secure their throne and hold onto power. If they didn't use the Sage of Six Paths name to build momentum, their rule wouldn't stand at all." Arisu only smiled faintly and said nothing more. After Uchiha Taijima left, Orisa gave a light cough. A white Zetsu appeared. You understood what I just discussed with Taijima, right? Orisa looked at the white Zetsu. The white Zetsu immediately bowed. I'll handle it at once. Orisa nodded. A few days later, the Fire Daimyo officially approved a document, assigning a large portion of land to the Uchiha clan. The Uchiha obtained a village building permit. Uchiha Taijima immediately mobilized the entire clan and rushed to the pre-selected site to begin construction. This location was exactly the same as where Konoha would stand in later generations. The Uchiha clan, already strong in combat, were astonishingly efficient at building as well. In just a few days, they established a new foundation for the clan on this land. Arisu personally named the village. He gave this newborn ninja village the name, Konoha. The outline of Konoha village began to take shape. Arisu immediately began drafting the proclamation to all ninja clans of the Land of Fire. In the name of the Uchiha clan, it was announced across the entire Land of Fire, sincerely inviting all major ninja clans to come and submit, join Konoha, consolidate their strength, and seek development together. The news spread like thunder across the territories of every ninja clan in the Land of Fire. For a time, all clans were thrown into an uproar. Everyone was filled with shock. They simply couldn't understand why the already powerful and stable Uchiha clan would go through such trouble to do this. In the established perception of the major ninja clans, the Uchiha had always been strong and ruthless, with many grudges between them. Taking the initiative to join them was no different from walking into a trap. No one was willing to take that step lightly. But immediately after, something happened that left all the ninja clans stunned. The Hyuga clan became the first to respond, relocating their entire clan to Konoha. This move completely baffled the other clans. The Hyuga clan, usually low-key and reserved, never easily involved in clan disputes, had actually taken the initiative to align themselves with the openly ambitious Uchiha. It was truly hard to comprehend. Within the Hyuga clan's migrating group, Father, I really can't understand it. Our Hyuga clan has been living peacefully. Why go through the trouble of moving the entire clan to join the Uchiha? You clearly understand the Uchiha clan's nature and ambitions. Why do this? Hyuga Tennin, while busy directing clan members and arranging supplies, complained to the clan head beside him, full of confusion. The Hyuga clan head looked toward the direction of Konoha, his gaze deep and distant. He didn't directly answer his son's question, only speaking slowly. Tennin, you still don't understand. One day, when you shoulder the responsibility of clan head and think from the perspective of the clan's survival, you'll naturally understand the deeper meaning. After speaking, the clan head's gaze grew even more distant. Hundreds of years ago, most of the Hyuga clan had been taken away by the Sage of Six Paths. Even though they were separated, secret communication between the two sides had never been cut off. And this connection was known only to the Hyuga clan head and a very small number of high-ranking members. When the news of the Uchiha receiving permission to build a village arrived, he immediately received a secret order. It instructed the Hyuga clan to fully cooperate with the Uchiha and ensure the successful establishment of Konoha. At the same time, within the Senju clan's territory. Tobarama, did you hear? The Uchiha built a big village and even sent a document inviting our Senju clan to live there together. The 6-year-old Senju Hashirama said excitedly. Senju Tobarama looked at his excited older brother, his brows slightly furrowed, and asked in confusion, Brother, it's just the Uchiha building a village. It has nothing to do with our Senju. Hashirama scratched the back of his head, his eyes clear and bright. I think it's a great thing. If all the ninja clans lived together, put aside their grudges, and made peace, wouldn't there be no more fighting between clans, no more people losing their homes? At such a young age, Senju Hashirama already held a longing for peace completely different from other children his age. What if this is just an Uchiha scheme? What if it's meant to lure our Senju clan in and weaken us? Tobarama, however, remained far more rational than his age would suggest. With his careful mind, he immediately raised a logical doubt. Hashirama's smile froze, leaving him momentarily speechless. But the Hyuga clan already went first. Their entire clan moved to Konoha and they're still completely safe. That can't be fake, right? Senju Hashirama said. Brother, you're forgetting a crucial point. Tobarama shook his head lightly. The Hyuga clan holds the immunity token personally granted by the Sage of Six Paths. The Uchiha would never dare act against them. Their safety can't be used as proof that the Uchiha have no ulterior motives. Hearing this, Hashirama lowered his head and thought carefully. He had to admit that Tobarama's reasoning made sense. But setting aside conspiracy theories, the idea of the Uchiha building a village and inviting all clans to gather together directly touched his longing for peace. If all the ninja clans could truly lay down their weapons and live in harmony, what a wonderful scene that would be. Thinking of this, the young Hashirama couldn't help but let out a soft sigh. On the other side, inside Konoha, Uchiha Taijima and Orisa sat facing each other, discussing the clan's future development. At this time, Konoha had not established a Hokage. There was only the highest decision-making group. That was Arisu and Taijima. Grandfather, since Konoha was established, the only clan that has voluntarily joined is the Hyuga. With things like this, it'll be hard to push forward with further integration plans. Taijima tapped the table lightly with his fingers as he spoke. He had originally been anxious, but seeing his grandfather so calm, he no longer felt rushed. Arisu, however, remained composed, sitting at the table sipping tea, his tone unhurried. Taijima, there's no need to rush. Building a village and integrating ninja clans is a gradual, long-term process. Haste makes waste. Orisa paused, then methodically laid out the next core steps, immediately arrange for clan members to start taking in displaced civilians into Konoha, strengthening the village's population base. At the same time, attract external investment and activate the village's economy, so Konoha isn't just a village for ninja, but a place where people can truly settle down. Also, implement the mission system and ninja management system I've drafted across the entire village at once. After speaking, Orisa pushed a stack of organized documents he had already prepared in front of Taijima. My God. After quickly flipping through them, Taijima's previously calm eyes burst with excitement. The respect in his gaze toward Orisa deepened, completely convinced by this comprehensive plan. Grandfather, you're incredible. No need to praise me, Orisa smiled and slowly explained the core of the strategy. In this world, ninja have always only taken orders from daimyo, nobles, and other high-ranking elites, serving only them. No one has ever truly considered the needs of the common people. This commission market has always been blank. We'll start from the low-end task market, first taking on all kinds of commissions from civilians. With absolute task quality and an extremely high completion rate, we'll establish ourselves step by step and monopolize this untouched market. Then we'll gradually expand upward, from the bottom to the top, taking over all types of ninja missions in the entire ninja world. This plan came from Arisu's business logic from his previous life. It was like milk tea shops in the real world. Scattered small brands without customers or channels couldn't survive. Only by attaching themselves to major brands could they find a way to live. The same applied to ninja clans. As long as Konoha completely monopolized all ninja mission channels, cutting off the livelihood of other clans and leaving them with no way out. At that point, the major ninja clans would naturally put aside their differences and come to Konoha on their own, willingly joining this hidden village. Of course, there was also the possibility that the major clans would band together to attack Konoha. But Arisu actually hoped for that. That way, the Uchiha could take them in under perfectly justified circumstances. p@trian.com/xenosex. Partying face joining p@trian keeps me motivated and eager to work diligently, so please consider joining, smiling face with hearts. Chapter 176, Chapter 176, The Private Desires of the Senju Elders. 9 years had passed. In this chaotic era filled with countless ninja clans, Konoha village had already become a standout existence. Everyone else was a clan, but you were a village. It felt like everyone was still living in tribes, and suddenly, a city-state appeared. After 9 years of refinement, Konoha's unique mission system had gained widespread praise. It firmly rooted itself in the needs of civilians, daimyo, and nobles alike, becoming a trusted choice for all sides. In terms of strength, it had advanced by leaps and bounds. Arisu had organized Konoha to take in a large number of children from civilian families and carefully train them. These children were still in their infancy. In a few more years, they would surely become the backbone of Konoha. Arisu had also innovatively established the Ninja Academy system and formed a formal ninja army. This broke the old barriers where ninja clans operated as separate family units. Uchiha, Hyuga, and even ninja from civilian backgrounds were all incorporated under the same army, truly achieving integration within the village. Inside the Konoha Elder Building, Arisu wore a dark elder's robe, lightly flipping through documents on the desk, his expression calm. Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Azuna stood to his left and right, their eyes filled with urgency. Great-grandfather, when are we going to unify the entire land of fire? Madara tilted his head up, his eyes full of longing as he stared straight at Arisu. Yeah, we've been doing missions every day. When can we go save the other suffering ninja clans in the land of fire? Izuna chimed in, his tone equally eager. The education the two of them had received was shaped by Arisu. Konoha's teaching was that outside of Konoha, everyone else was living in hardship. Of course, that was indeed the reality. At this time, Madara was 14, and Izuna was only 13, right at the age full of ambition. Arisu looked up at them, raising an eyebrow slightly. You're still young. Why are you always asking about this? Izuna and Madara exchanged a glance, then spoke in unison, of course it's because we want to contribute to the village. Great-grandfather has made the village so strong. Why don't we go conquer them ourselves? Madara looked at Arisu with admiration all over his face. Exactly. The village is already this powerful. Why hasn't grandfather unified the land of fire yet? Izuna nodded along, his eyes full of trust. Konoha had been established when Madara was 5. He and Izuna had personally witnessed everything Arisu had done to govern the village. The two of them admired Arisu to the extreme. They admired their father Taijima's strength, but they admired Arisu's ability to manage the village and strategize behind the scenes even more. You're still young. Even though Konoha's strength now far surpasses the surrounding clans, if we rely only on force to conquer them, those clans will resist again and again in the future. Arisu slowed his tone and patiently taught them. Force is only a supplement. We need to let them truly see the benefits of joining Konoha. Only then can real unification be achieved. The two nodded, half understanding. But Madara suddenly changed the topic. Great-grandfather is absolutely right. Then can you assign us an S-rank mission? Catching cats and finding dogs every day is just too boring. Uchiha Madara asked with a face full of expectation. Yeah. Every day, either helping old ladies catch cats or helping villagers find dogs, it's no fun at all. We want to leave the village and do real missions. Izuna nodded vigorously, his eyes full of excitement. Hearing this, Arisu's expression turned slightly serious as his gaze fell on the two children. S-rank missions are out of the question. You're too young. You haven't reached that level yet. A B-rank mission can be considered. However, B-rank missions involve bloodshed. Because the original storyline had already diverged too much. Konoha had been established early, and Arisu had always adhered to a philosophy of peaceful development. He had never initiated war, so Madara and Izuna, even at 7 or 8 years old, had never seen real blood and fire. They had been protected too well. In the original story, at this age, Uchiha Madara probably already had several lives on his hands. But now, Uchiha Madara could only help slaughter pigs in the village during festivals. We're not afraid. Hearing the words bloodshed, Madara's eyes instead lit up as he raised his head and replied. I can finally test my sword. Izuna immediately followed, his eyes full of excitement. Arisu tapped his finger lightly on the desk, pondering for a moment as if weighing the decision. At that moment, Uchiha Taijima pushed the door open and walked in. Grandfather, agree to it. If they stay in the village all the time and never experience hardship, they'll eventually be raised into uselessness. Without facing storms, how can they grow into towering trees? Uchiha Taijima entered as he spoke. Since Konoha was established, Taijima had set aside his identity as Uchiha clan head and actively thrown himself into frontline missions. By all rights, he didn't need to do this. But since he wasn't skilled in governance, he chose to contribute to the village through missions instead. Although Konoha had been established by both Arisu and Taijima, the one who truly controlled Konoha and set all its rules was ultimately Arisu. Arisu was the true master of Konoha. Since you're so eager to gain experience, I'll assign you a B-rank mission. Arisu looked at their expectant faces and understood. After saying that, he leaned forward and flipped through the mission scrolls on the desk. His fingers quickly passed over scrolls filled with commissions, and after a moment, he selected one. At the border of the Land of Fire, there's a small village that has recently been frequently attacked by bandits. The villagers are poorly dressed and struggling to survive. They saved up for a long time to gather enough money for a commission and specifically came to seek Konoha's help. Seeing how difficult their situation was, I took the initiative to waive most of the fee. As his voice fell, Arisu raised his hand and lightly tossed the mission scroll to Uchiha Madara. Madara reached out and caught it steadily. His youthful face immediately lit up with excitement as he straightened his posture and declared loudly, Great-grandfather, don't worry. Izuna and I will definitely complete the mission perfectly and won't fail you. With that, he grabbed Izuna, who was just as delighted. The two brothers moved briskly and immediately turned to prepare their gear. After they left, Uchiha Taijima looked toward the doorway, and worry inevitably surfaced in his eyes. Even though he had just encouraged them to experience hardship, Madara and Izuna were still his own flesh and blood. They were still young, yet they were about to face danger outside. The concern in his heart couldn't be hidden. Arisu saw this and spoke calmly to reassure him, rest assured. Do you still remember the umbu I organized earlier? Whenever children under the age of 12 go out on missions, elite umbu will secretly follow them and protect them the entire time. They will never be allowed to fall into real danger. At this time, in this era of chaos, there were no ninja villages across the nations. The umbu established by Arisu had, at present, the core responsibility of secretly protecting Konoha teams on missions, preventing all kinds of unexpected dangers. Hearing this, Uchiha Taijima's tightly furrowed brows immediately relaxed. The tension in his expression completely eased, and he said sincerely, Grandfather truly thinks of everything. I was worrying too much. The two looked at each other and both smiled faintly.